Alright, I have finally decided what my next piece that I'm going to work on is going to be. And as you can tell, this thing is actually pretty darn big. So as I pull back, that's probably a good 2 or 3 feet away from it, just so you get an idea of how big this is. From here to here, if I remember my measurements correctly, I believe is 16 inches. And then from here all the way to the back is 14 inches. And to give you guys an idea of scale, there's the ubiquitous marine, and then just kind of get a model level view. So, it actually does have some height. The piece is one of those things I've been holding on to for a while. So, when you see the height of this thing, and if I put a model here, even with this banner, he's pretty well hidden. Apologize for the shadows. This sucker's just so big; it's even beyond what I can do with the lights I have in here. But this thing's got a lot of open. When you look at it at first, it looks like a really flat piece, but it's actually got, like I said, a fair amount of height to it. And I've been holding on to this thing. This is actually a piece from, if you guys know, they're the little finger skateboards. They're about this big, and these are they're little skate parks, if you will. And local Toys R Us was having a sale, getting rid of these things. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I think I got this thing for like $10, and it's all plastic, so it's all modular, and I've actually glued it together, so this thing is actually pretty darn solid. Now, you may also then ask, why am I putting this on a base? Well, part of it is I do want to make this thing taller, so I need something to basically attach some things to. So I've roughly cut out, this is a quarter piece of MDF, so it is pretty thick, and I need this to be, again, as terrain. This stuff's going to get beaten up and thrown around, so I want this to be able to take a beating. But what I'm also going to do to save some weight is, once I get this lined up and I'll outline where I want it to go, I'm then going to probably cut out a majority of the middle of this thing. So just from a weight standpoint. Plus, it'll also help it sit a little flatter, because this thing is such a big footprint. That hollow space will give any type of variation in a type of table boards to give it just another chance to lay flat. So, but here's just some general ideas of what I'm thinking. One of the things I've been looking for is, obviously, I want to use this water feature, so I'm going to fill this in with some resin. And what I haven't decided is, do I make this clean looking or dirty looking? So I'm leaning towards the dirty side. That's just kind of my style. I don't like the clean cartoon look. But what I do want to do is put a statue of something here, and I'd like to get something, roughly about that tall, probably, equivalent size of height-wise of like a dreadnought or something, just to make this again a little bit more interesting of a centerpiece. And that's going to be interesting. I've been looking at like cake toppers and stuff like that. So any ideas, let me know. This might be one that doesn't come to fruition, because if I don't find something I like, I'm not going to put anything on here. That'd just be a waste. But if I get in here, you can actually see, as a skateboard thing, they actually did, well, a crappy painting job, but there's actually little bits where, it's cracked and stuff like that, and there's actually texture, and there's actually cracks in the, in the joints of the, what would be the concrete and stuff. So, with a more thorough paint job and dry brushes and stuff like that, and washes, all this little detail will come out. So, and what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to drill some holes through this and then run some chain around here to make this, again, look more like it. But my general idea is, what I want to do is, part of it to kind of to stretch what I've done is, so far all the pieces I've done, everything is right angles. Well, that's really easy to build things off of when all your angles are basically 90 degrees for the most part. This is going to be interesting because I want to create a curved wall here and have this come up a fair height on both sides, so kind of mirror it, and then mimic this kind of same detail and create something roughly of the same thickness. I'm shying away from foam because anything height like that that has no alternate support is just going to snap off from a storage standpoint. And then I also want to create something on the back. Again, kind of a maybe an entrance to this, kind of like it's like an amphitheater almost. But I want to leave this portion right here open, build like some stairs up into this so that there are, essentially multiple ways to get into this piece. But these walls would act as some line of sight blocking, and just give it some height to give it a little bit more visual interest. So that's the rough idea of this. Again, just to kind of give you a shot. And then I'm also going to probably, again, trim down some of this. Right now this is just a rough cut, just a basic big rectangle I only need so much of this, and I want to keep this, I want to reduce, again, the footprint, but I want to give a little bit here so I can add, either broken rubble or other pieces of that, depending on what I do. And then to give an edge place for that wall to be able to attach and have a good attach point, some place to put the stairs, but I'm going to trim off as much of this as I can, both from just a weight and physical footprint standpoint. So that's the basic. That's going to be the intro of this. This one's probably going to take a while, but again, this is actually going to make me do things I haven't done before and should be interesting. And plus, this thing's been sitting in there in my box for Boxo terrain, if you will, and I want to make this more playable for 40K. And then one of their questions is like, okay, these stairs don't look, model actually can sit on it pretty good. These stairs are actually pretty shallow, so even I think I've done a 40 millimeter, so these ones here are a little shallow, kind of do beat the lean, but these ones are a little more stretched out. So it still makes it pretty playable unless you've got a really top heavy. The stairs don't create that much of a problem, and even here there's enough space to where a little bit of movement around, you can still get up on some of the ledges, and still very, very playable. So again, for something was like $10 for this size, can't beat it. With just a little bit of work, I think you can turn it into a very unique piece of terrain, and it should be sturdy enough to, heck, I could almost make a handle out of this thing and carry it to a game store if I wanted to and plop it down. So there we go. That's the intro.